beverage like we are. This looks like you made us a lovely cappuccino.
Latte.
Whoa.
Latte.
Okay. Really mixing things up. I don't know if I can tell the difference, but
Different button on the machine.
synchronized step here if you are watching this live as opposed to listening to this on the podcast, but you can also enjoy it that way too. 1, 2, 3. All right. Well, that is delicious. Okay. So besides talking about coffee, we are interested in what you are having. So feel free to pop that in the comments. We talk about getting into college, paying for college, strategies about what to get out of college, getting that college return on investment, which could mean getting into a best fit school and ultimately leading to a happy, successful life after college, getting off the old mom and dad full ride scholarship, and having a profession that doesn't feel like work all the time. It feels like play. That's what Lockwood College Prep is all about. That's what we try to talk about in the show and various aspects on College Coffee Talk. Today, I think we have a really good show. We have 2 topics. One is this diversity essay. The reason I wanted to talk about it today is because we're right at the end of February. We're heading into March. We just reopened enrollment for our summer boot camp, Essays and Applications boot camp, the College Application Edge boot camp. And we're starting to get some inquiries about the essays. We're also about a year away, a year in the future, away from the 2023 Supreme Court decision that said the use of affirmative action was unlawful. In that case, there were 2 cases really. One was against Harvard, and one was against the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. And now we have about a cycle of admissions to digest, everything that happened since then. The results are mixed, so we'll talk about that. The other thing I want to talk about is you had Pearl she handles all the financial aid stuff and all the money stuff in our practice. And there's been a few, I guess, developments back thereof with the Department of Education. Things are in flux right now. She doesn't have a back channel into Linda McMahon, but I'd like to share some of what's going on and then talk specifically about, I guess, sort of case study of some of that you're helping with. We got some bad advice about consolidating their loans. So it's really state of the union as we know today, and then a little case study, and then we'll get to the diversity stuff.
Okay, so what I can share with you right now, we probably loosely have an understanding that something's going to happen to the Department of Education under this new administration. Exactly what remains to be seen. There seems to be every indication that if there's a dismantling of the Department of Education, it is not that all of its functions go away there too. It means that some of the functions that it intends to retain, like the ability to apply for federal aid and obtain loans for college, will be likely, if the Department of Education is dismantled, farmed out to other federal agencies and streamlined that way. The other changes that are likely on the horizon with the Department of Education speak to the loan forgiveness programs that exist, or the income-dependent payments that are possible when it's time to repay college educational loans back, be it student or parent loans. Again, that all remains to be seen, what the details of those programs that currently exist and where they're heading. As of right now, unfortunately, in terms of plans you may have underway or plans you hope to put in place, as of right now, if you go on the Department of Education site where one would consolidate their loans or enter into the necessary prerequisite for either loan forgiveness under public service loan forgiveness or loan forgiveness under an income-based repayment plan when you're not a public servant. Okay, so the prerequisite is that loans get consolidated and a different repayment method is chosen. However, as of right now, if you go onto the federal site, it clearly states in a red notice that those functions currently are paused or halted. You are not able to go online and consolidate your loans. You're not able to go in and pick an income-based repayment plan and expect it to go into effect now. Okay, so all of those functions are currently unavailable if you go online. There may still be, I mean, you can certainly do a paper consolidation and send it in and have all those requirements. There's a lot that has to go into it. You got to get it right. And you also need to get your loan data, which may not be available either anymore online, in order to populate this paper application. That paper application, again, they on the site, it says they're not doing them right now. I'm not sure how far along your paper consolidation, should you send it in with the hopes of it getting processed, will actually occur. So we're really, really in a holding pattern right now when it comes to the student loan repayment plans, consolidations, forgiveness. We are not, though, by contrast, in any stalling or pause situation with respect to getting loans and putting those in place for students that are currently enrolled in school. So that so far seems to be intact and running as it always has. So too the FAFSA as well. It's been running smoothly. The data is transferring pretty seamlessly, actually, from the IRS site into the Department of Education site for the FAFSA. And that's
Which
certainly
wasn't
an
always the case.
improvement from
Yeah.
last year.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Last year was a disaster. It's better. So what is your prediction, your guarantee prediction that everything's going to be,
Oh,
that everything's going to be up and running again on the student loan or the student financial aid website with consolidating loans and all that stuff?
I would never make such a guarantee.
Don't waffle.
No, that's not waffling. I will not make such a guarantee. I think
You're really
that
not waffling.
everything is up for grabs at the moment.
So-
But
All right, so let's talk. So, person expert on loan forgiveness and all these plans. You are still consulting people. You are still
Yes.
helping people. So talk about that
Sure.
client without revealing too much, of course, but a little case study.
Yeah.
Someone who got some really bad advice, it seems.
what I'm about to discuss is currently also still intact, this area
Okay.
of loans, if you will. Okay, so I had someone recently retain me for a consult who literally said to me, my daughter and I feel like we're on a boat in the middle of the ocean with no rudders, because we try to hunt down this information. They had evidently retained somebody years back when the student was in college. I'm sorry, when the student was still in high school, where they were advised to max out parent loans for the student's education in reliance on the law that states if one is totally and permanently disabled, they can obtain a discharge of their educational loans, parent loans, student loans, okay? Period. That's
Which is correct advice.
which is correct advice. That is in
At least
fact true.
currently, yeah.
And that is what whoever gave them advice was telling them about. Oh, you have this injury, so don't worry, you can take these loans out, you're not going to have to pay them back, they're going to go away, don't worry, just keep doing it, borrowed every single year throughout college, don't worry, it's all fine, it's going to be forgiveness. And what the family was telling me, what the specific advice was. Okay, so now they're at the point in time where it's time to pay it back. And now this family is being charged, like $1,000 a month for this loan. And this was not what they were told would be the result of the advice they had been given so long ago. They were told they would never have to make payments and it would all be forgiven. Anywho, so now at the point where it's owed, they described to me basically the advice, and this is such a problem across the board, what I'm about to launch into. Omissions are big problems when you are in reliance on something, when it has to do with what you're going to have to pay. Matters. It matters. And I'm going on a tangent 2 seconds just to say, and financial aid nights at high schools are seriously guilty of omitting very important information for financial aid in their so-called financial aid nights. Most schools don't even have any representative discussing anything about the CSS profile, a form that is really important for hundreds of schools that are very, very popular on people's lists. So it is extremely
I think
remiss.
what she's saying is, because you said this privately, is there might be a sliver of the picture that's
Right.
accurate, but then there's a whole bunch of other stuff that gets omitted,
That matter.
which really matters for many people, not everyone, but
Right.
many people.
So now I'm just going to
She got this
land this
advice.
plane. So she got this
That was
advice
basically right,
that was basically right.
but not for her.
Well, no,
Right,
there was
unfortunately.
a major detail
Yeah.
left out. Like it is, and I'll just tell you, it is not. You can follow that pursuit of it. If you are totally and permanently disabled and you have parent loans, you can seek for discharge of those loans. Okay, there is more to it. There's a lot more to it. In this instance, this parent had not yet been declared by, and it's not by her, it's not by her doctor, by the Social Security Administration, has to affirmatively, officially declare you as someone who has a total and permanent disability. That is a prerequisite to even going for this discharge, and without it, you are dead on arrival.
So, and it's unclear whether she will actually satisfy that condition.
Right.
But I think what you need to understand is you've got to get a doctor to sign off on it, but you have to submit paperwork to the Social Security Administration
Right.
for them to, to give you the official readout. Okay, you are officially permanently disabled. In many cases, that you start getting a stream of income, the disability insurance.
That's the other thing, right? If you are going to be there are restrictions on how much you can earn after you are determined permanently to totally disabled. So
she
this bit of advice, she really may not qualify. And then in the alternative, I will advise her what is possible to reduce her loan payments from $1,000. We'll see what's possible, and we'll see under the current administration what avenues will really survive. At the moment, it's uncertain. If they were advising for, there were going to be no changes, she has options. But again, it is really important to get full and complete information and not be casual about this, because it could cost you thousands and thousands of dollars.
So if someone wants to talk to you about their own situation, where do they go and what happens?
So my company that handles all the loan work and loan forgiveness and consolidation.
After you borrow.
After you borrow, right. You are finished with the borrowing event. Yesterday's Debt, is it yesterdaysdebt.com?
I just posted.
Oh, thanks. You're such a good sous chef.
Yeah.
Right. That is how to get in touch with me, and I could do a consult and describe in detail what's possible for your situation, and then
a lot of people don't know what they have. Also, I mean, you don't know how much you borrowed,
when they owe it, when the first payment's due, right. They all of a sudden start owing arrears, and then it affects their credit.
And
you can't be that.
And you can't get that information necessarily from a servicer that easily, and they're not supposed to advise you either on what your options are. It's kind of weird.
And many of them are being laid off at the moment. And that's the other thing I didn't mention in
the servicing.
Yeah. Yes. In the federal.
Is it federal servicing? Like Mohella or whatever it is?
Department of Education. That is federal now. It's the way it says Department of Education / Mohella. The Department of Education recently centralized all of the loan servicing from the various loan servicers to itself, to one entity.
Okay.
Anyway, point is, make sure you really don't gloss over any prerequisites for anything. And if these details matter because it's the foundation of the whole thing you're relying on. And unfortunately, in this instance, the thing that she relied on, it wasn't complete information, and
Right.
it is going to cost her. It's a very different result than what she was expecting.
Okay. And in contrast, just before we move on here, Pearl just recently helped someone relieve themselves of
Yeah.
$273,000 worth of debt
Yeah.
through this yesterday's debt service that we have. And you've had people cut their payment from $4,000 a month to under $750.
Yeah.
So there is a potential for amazing real relief. Obviously, this is just us talking here on the Facebook, but so I'm not guaranteeing anything, but certainly getting a lay of the land and getting help, some sort of relief, that's a no-brainer. That happens.
That's right. You'll certainly know what is
Yeah.
and what isn't.
Anything else before we move on to the third rail of diversity?
Take it away.
Politically incorrect. This is not MSNBC. This is College Coffee Talk.
So we're not going to find any joy here
Nice. I can find joy in
or there.
right. Joy or slightly less joyful.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah. Funny.
Not sorry.
Really funny. Okay, so in June of 2023, the Supreme Court officially put an end to affirmative action in college admissions. Since then, some people believe that colleges are still not playing by those new rules because they weren't enforced. But it's mixed. So at some colleges, the percentage of Asian Americans or Black or Latino students has gone up, or 2 out of 3 of those, or 1 out of 3. At some colleges, they have gone down. So it's been a mixed bag, and diversity is still a very important goal, for most colleges out there, and it is certainly not something that the Supreme Court has said should not be a goal. What the Supreme Court said, Justice Roberts indicated, was that to use diversity or someone's skin color or ethnicity as the sole basis, to consider for admission is not allowable. It's not constitutional. But he did leave the door open by saying, and I don't have the exact quote because I'm a little lazy, which is that this is not to say that you can't ask essays, kids to write about and share their experiences in terms of their backgrounds, right? How does their race and ethnicity inform those experiences? Maybe there was some adversity, etc. So what happened was an explosion of the diversity essay, which already was a thing, and that takes different forms. But basically, one of them is, what community are you from? Another one asks about your lived experiences. If you see those buzzwords, community or lived experiences, those are diversity essays. So I had some kids in our boot camps last summer, and some private advising clients as well, who we would map out how many essays they had to write. It might be 25, a personal statement, and then supplemental essays. Out of those 25 supplemental essays, 11 could have been the diversity essay. So one issue I think a lot of our clients had. I mean, we do have some diverse clients, but some are not, scratching their head saying, "Well, I'm a white bread Irish Catholic from Manhasset. Like, what do I write about?" Right. So my first joke is, well, you have to go far enough back in the family tree because we're all related, right? We all have a common ancestor from somewhere in Africa. But frequently, kids like this would talk about their parents' or people who came across the ocean with 2 nickels in their pocket and built a business, right? So the essays can be answered in a variety of ways. So if you are visually diverse but haven't really encountered any type of discrimination or adverse events, I think you need to really not get creative and lie, but really reconsider that and talk to your parents and talk to other people in your family about whether they have received any. Because you could be an African American kid and living in Wellesley, Massachusetts, and not feel like you have any type of adverse economic types of types of things that happen to you, but you stick out, like a sore thumb in a very non-diverse community, and you can maybe if you didn't have something to write about that way, right?
Yeah.
So it's not about economic diversity necessarily. It's about visual diversity. That's still what colleges really value. But there's other types of diversity to write about too. There's diversity of thought. There's diversity of activities. So diversity of thought could be I'm a conservative kid in a very liberal environment, or vice versa. My whole family is very conservative, but I'm liberal. Or it could be I am I play a lot of chess, and I'm always thinking ahead in terms of 5 or 6 moves, and my friends kind of think that's weird, Or I hate to say this one, I'm a Marvel fan. My best friend is a DC fan. I hate to say this because I'm always ragging on my son about this, and we're always fighting about which company is better, which comics are better, characters are better, which movies are better, etc. So those don't necessarily address the Supreme Court diversity issue that they're trying to outlaw, but they do make an interesting essay. And if you can't really write about diversity without twisting yourself into knots, I would look for other sorts of diversity. It could be religious diversity. I'm Jewish, and I was doing something, and someone yelled at me. Hey, something nasty, especially now with all the stuff that's happening in Gaza and all that. But even without that, we had a super kid that we worked with last year who's getting to some great schools now, some terrific schools. And he wrote about he's a Sikh Indian, and he wrote a lot about his Gurdwara, the temple where they engage in a lot of charity and other community types of activities. Being an Indian is not. I mean, I'm talking about the not the Native American kind, but I'm talking about someone who's from India. That is certainly not a favorite class right now, as is the case with Asians, as is the case with white kids, Catholic, Jewish, etc. But I would lean into that in these essays because they're very interesting.
Mhm.
So on one hand, they may not check off the diversity quotient, but on the other hand, they're going to make you seem like a more compelling, interesting candidate. So don't be afraid to write about things like that are uncomfortable. The only thing I would say though is, particularly if you're going to write about politics, which a lot of people don't want to do that, and I understand that. But what I've heard numerous times over the years from various admissions officers is it's okay to write about something that's politically charged. I wouldn't necessarily. If I'm applying to Notre Dame, I wouldn't say I'm pro women's rights for abortion or something, right? But it's okay to write about something that could be perceived as politically incorrect or politically charged, as long as you give effect to the other side. You acknowledge that there is another potentially rational side to the argument, as opposed to just coming across as a lunatic. It's just a doctrinaire. It's my way. Everyone else is stupid.
Like a bundle of joy. Don't come across like a bundle of joy.
Okay, well, that's one way to do it. But there are, on each side of the aisle, the joy and the joyless sides. Well, they're both joyless, but on each side of the dial, or the clicker or whatever, you'll find people like this. And that is not how you should approach a college essay. I think it is interesting to write about that stuff, and you have to be very careful to acknowledge the other side, because that's what colleges are. Ostensibly, that's what they are all about. Especially the liberal arts colleges, it's about diversity of ideas and free exchange of ideas. Of course, it doesn't always work out that way. It doesn't seem to work out that way, but I think the pendulum is swinging back a little bit more away from the censorship and whatever. It still happens. There's still plenty of people shouting down speakers who come, and protesters and all that, but it seems to be a little bit better than it was last year, which is what we were hoping a year ago.
Yes.
I remember before, because my whole hypothesis was, as we went to last summer, the summer 24, which was right on the heels of the whole year after October 7th and all the protests, my hope was that colleges will have a summer to now plan and figure out how they're going to deal with all the protests and how they're going to confine it and punish people for violating university rules and all that.
And how to face the fact that they may be losing federal funding going
Well,
forward.
that didn't happen up until those threats didn't happen until January, right? But before then, I would say from August of 24, when kids started coming back to school, and certainly December of 24 or November maybe, for the election, it did seem like colleges, for the most part,
For the most
were a lot better about protecting our kids' safety, right, and making them feel better about being on campus.
part,
And
some better than others.
yeah, of course, right, and it's still going to be up and down, but I felt like there was some significant improvement.
Mhm.
I'll take
Okay,
you.
I'll take it. It's a great trend. I'll take some more of it. I think there
Sure.
needs to be accountability at these schools. Be it from protecting students' rights to feel safe on campus and not be the subject of anti-Semitism or racism of any kind.
And people should be also free to express their opinions without
Yeah.
having
Yeah.
physical harm
course.
or other fears
And-
forced on them.
There's a difference as
Sure.
wide as the ocean between the two.
Yeah.
So let's get it right. Yeah,
Okay.
there's tons to say on.
Well, I think you said it all. So anyway, so the essays are pretty important, especially the supplemental essays, because they give the colleges a little bit more information on, number one, there's no more interviews for the most part. So this is the equivalent of putting a name to a face, but it's putting a "who are you" to a name. And then there's the personal statement, which is the essay that goes to every college. That's pretty important too. Again, no more interviews. Same rationale there. We are opening the doors as of this morning, March 1st, at I would say a deeply discounted price for the upcoming summer college application edge bootcamp. It's on our website, lockwoodcollegeprep.com. You just click on resources and you'll see it listed there, and you can read to your heart's desire. The whole point is, between the essays, supplemental essays, the entire application, the write-up of the activities section, and everything else that goes into this application, there should be a very clear thread of continuity that runs through the entire application and explains to an admissions officer who has about 6 minutes to read your entire application, including transcripts, including recommendations, you name it. This is why I am different. I know I had basically the same academic profile, GPA, grades, scores, rigor, as 50,000 other kids, but here is my closing argument why I should be chosen, or why I should be picked out of a crowd. So that's what we try to help people put together over the summer in our application, the College Application Edge Bootcamp. That is free for our one-on-one clients, but we do charge to the outside world if they want to hire us just for that. It's a group
It's fantastic.
bootcamp with some one-on-one breakout at every session.
It is a great antidote to handling and approaching that stress that precedes the senior year of high school with respect to college admissions. It is like I really do. I don't participate in it, so I am
Not
just
true.
observing. No, I'm
Not true.
a chief snack officer. I do provide all the snacks for the in-person
CSO.
boot campies. But it is such a great way to go, I got this. It's gonna be handled. It's not gonna bleed into the fall where my kid really has to keep their grades up, and you don't have to painstakingly go through every part of that application and go, is this the right way, or is this the right way? Is this the right way, or is this the right way? You're gonna have inevitably so many questions, and to just have a backstop of expertise behind it is a major anxiety reducer in this process. And you guys do an amazing job. You do.
Well, we get good feedback. I appreciate that. And the other aspect is it's a way for you not to have to scream at your kid all summer, or wake up in August, days away from school starting, with nothing but a blank cursor for where the essay should go. Blank flashing page and cursor. So that is available at a discount, a scholarship, we like to say, to March 1st on our website. Lockwood, you put that in chat, lockwoodcollegeprep.com. Click on resources. Alrighty, great show. We touched the third rail and got away with it. Yeah, we'll see. Thanks for joining us. Have a great rest of your day and week. And we'll be back next week with another episode of College Coffee Talk. And if you are listening to this on the podcast, watching this on all the other social places, if you like it and follow it, you get these updates every week because you're not getting them anywhere else. Certainly not from your guidance counselor or all the other usual suspects, other mommies, you name it. You need to do another Don't Be That Mom segment next week.
Yes.
You got to really bring it
All
next
right.
week. We skipped it this week.
I was approved for another mom's group,
Oh,
so I should have some new material.
I wouldn't approve of you. So we'll be back next week with another Don't Be That Mom. Bye-bye.